How's it going, everybody? Jeremy Ryan Slate here. I am the CEO and co-founder of Command Your Brand, and I'm excited to be hanging out with you guys today. Welcome to our latest LinkedIn Live and also live on Facebook, YouTube. So wherever you are catching us, excited to get a chance to spend some time with you. And I'm excited for a lot of what we're going to cover today. So as you guys are jumping in here, do me a big favor. Tell me where you're talking to me from today, because I want to get a chance to engage with you guys, to say hello, to welcome you from whatever part of the world you are chatting from us today. I am here in what's getting to be very cold New Jersey, but excited to hang out with you guys today. As you guys are jumping on here, let me know where you're talking to me from today. We're going to cover some stuff around making your interviews as a guest more effective, because I find too often people tend to blame the opportunity and blame the appearance rather than taking a look at how they can do a better job with that appearance or with that opportunity. So I'm excited to cover a lot of that today, and I want to kind of back it up and go back to some of the stuff we've covered in the last couple weeks. So we're going to talk about having a better experience as a guest on podcasts. I want to go back to a few of the things we've been covering over the last couple of weeks. If you guys are new to these live streams, we cover in a very short amount of time, usually 20 to 30 minutes. I think last week we were only like 16 minutes. We cover a lot of the things you need to know to really become more of the leader you already are in your space. Because if you're watching these live streams, if you're watching them live or recorded, you're about being a leader. You're about getting out there. You're about getting your name heard. So I want to take us through a few of the things we've covered in the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to get into what I want to talk about today, which is some things that are going to give you guys a really, really great experience as a guest on podcasts. Because if you've been going on shows and you said, like, I'm not getting any ROI out of this, I'm not getting any return out of this, it hasn't been the experience I've been looking for. So what we're going to cover today is actually going to help you do that and help you to master that. So the first thing I want to start with is the definition of three different things. So the first is public relations. And the public relations is how you relate to the public, how you're known by the public. A public is a type of audience. And the second thing we have is marketing. And marketing is the action of promoting your product or service to create want. And then the final thing we have is leads. And that is people that are interested in your product or service. I think far too often people think the idea of leads are people ready to give me money. Well, the process of sales turns leads into people ready to give you money. So I want to kind of clear that up. So that's what we've been covering over the last couple of weeks. And what I want to talk about today is how you can have a great experience as a guest on a podcast. I know we used to teach a methodology called story, message, call to action over the years. And we found that there's a better way to do it. And this is something we've been working on over the years. And we've looked at our clients that have had the best experience. We've looked at why I've done so well on my guest appearances on shows. I like people, which helps, but part of that is actually a lot of the things I apply when I get in an interview. So when you're thinking about it, step zero, what you're going to do even before you go on the podcast, take a couple minutes, find out a little bit of information about that person. Who are they? What do they do? What is their business called? What is their show called? Glance at the list of people they've interviewed, like who have they interviewed, what things do they talk about, topics do they have. Like these are really, really important things to find out. And that's step zero before you ever appear on the podcast. I know I've been one to usually listen to a little bit of an episode because I want to just see how that person communicates. Like to me, that's important. You don't have to do that, but you should be doing some background interest to know who they are, what they do, what their business is, who they help, and people they talk to and what they talk about. So that's step zero. You should have that in place. Step one is when you show up on that podcast, number one, like have some good audio. Like great audio is really important because you are showing up on their podcast. You are showing up to speak to their audience. And it's really vital that you respect that. So step one is how you show up. So when you show up on that podcast, hey, podcaster, so excited to be here today. I was checking out your show a little bit, and I was excited to see that you've talked to blank, blank, and blank, and that a lot of what you cover is blank. I know that there's a reason that you wanted to do this interview today. There was probably, some certain reason of all the promotion my team did that where you're like, hey, I want to talk to this guy because blank. So given that, how can I serve your audience best today? And then once you say that, you just shut up. Let them think about it. You may see the wheels start turning. You may see smoke come out of their ears, whatever it is. But how can I serve your audience best today? And that's step one. And that does a couple different things for you. Number one, they like you better because you give a crap about their audience. Like, that's really important. Like, as podcasters, we put so much into these shows. So it shows me that you care about what I'm doing here and how you're delivering to my people. Now, here's the second thing. The second thing that actually does for you is you can think of your content and your talking points through the viewpoint of how their audience needs to receive it. So that's really important as well. So it really helps you to master what you're giving people and how you're giving it to them. So that's the first point there. So point 0 is knowing who you're talking to, what they talk about, and what they do. Step 1 is asking them how you can serve their audience today. Like, what's the best thing you can do for them? So then once that's kind of rolling, like, a lot of this stuff is built off of personal stories. Some hosts may ask you, what's your story? They may ask you to tell your story. When you tell your story, you want to keep it 2-3 minutes max. Reason being is when you do that, you'll get done and they may say, damn, that was awesome, man. Can we talk about blank, blank, and blank? Because those were points you kind of skipped over there and they sound really important. But you want to remember, like, you're not getting on there and giving your entire life story, like, Monty Python's Life of Brian, which is an incredible movie if you haven't seen, by the way. Always look on the bright side of life. Anyway, so you want to keep your story in 2 to 3 minutes. And if they want to know more, they'll ask you. They'll ask you exactly what they're looking for. So step 0, know who you're talking to, what they talk about, who they talk to. Number 1, ask them, how can I serve your audience best today? Step 2 is know your story in 2 to 3 minutes, and then let them ask you if they want to ask more. And then step 3 is when you're answering questions, you want to answer them in stories. So, Joe, I want to know more about, like, how you scale a business. Well, you know what? Let me tell you a story, because, like, I was really stuck in a part in time where I couldn't scale my business, and then I learned blank. So you want to think about stories that are relevant to what you have to teach, because stories are real to people. They can understand and be like, yeah, I could see that. Or damn, I'm there, man. Like, I'm in that position. I get that. So when you answer questions, answer it from the form of story. Like, that's really, really important. And then the last thing you want to be thinking with, bringing this back around, is call to action. You want to give away something that is very applicable to the people that just heard your interview, that they can do something with it. I like tools. I hate ebooks because people do not download them. They don't download ebooks because, geez, I am so excited to get another 300-page thing that I'm not going to read. So you want to think about things that are actionable, usually 1 to 2 pages. It could be a worksheet. It could be a checklist. It could be something that gives people a win off of the content you taught. Because you look at it from this viewpoint, right? When you're learning something, there's 2 parts to it. There's the theory of it and the doingness of it. So you gave them the theory by them listening to you and understanding. You want to give them something to do so they get a win and they remember you. So those are the things you should be thinking of when you go on a podcast. Now, a lot of times we'll say, hey, thank you so much for being here, blah, 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 blah. Show ends. The worst thing to do is see ya and just kind of check out until later. You want to think about how you can use that time to then network with the person you talk to, because they're, somebody that is very well off in their space. They have an audience you can help. You may be able to help them. So you want to spend some time for networking. I spend 15, 20 minutes, depending on the show, talking to the person afterwards, seeing like, how can we help each other? What can we do together? So let's kind of go back through this now and kind of bring us back around. This is an action-packed one. I feel like I'm talking really fast today. But step 0, know who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. So that way, when you show up, like, you don't get on and call Joe, Robert, or call Robert Bob or Tom or something like that. Know their name. That's really important. So step 0, know who they are, what they do for work, who they talk to, what they talk about. Step 1 is to ask them how you can serve their audience today. Step 2 is to then, when you tell your story, because at some point in that podcast, they're going to have you tell your story, keep it to 2 to 3 minutes max. And if they want to know more about different parts of your life, they're going to ask you about it. But really, this is a learning medium. And there's definitely been adversity probably in your life and things like that. And people can learn from that. And the host knows if they want to know more about that. But it's really about teaching about the content you have to talk about. So then step 3 is around the idea of answering questions with stories, because it allows you to make things more real to people. And, like, you think about, like, I don't know how many, like, religious people out there, but you think about when Jesus taught people, right? He taught in parables. He told stories to teach a lesson so people got it. You need to think about the same way when you're teaching people as on a podcast. And then the last part of the actual interview is your call to action, giving people something workable, something doable to do with your content after they've experienced it. And then the final thing, give yourself 10, 15, 20 minutes to network with the host after. They probably have time. A lot of people book out an hour, do an interview for 30 minutes, and they have time to chat with you because you may be able to help them out and they may be able to help you out. So this is how you can have a better experience being a guest on podcasts. You need to take a look at it this way, right? It's about taking the mic into your own hands and taking command of your brand, right? So if you can become more active, if you can become more causative, you can actually make things happen and take the best of every single opportunity to get out there. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. So just to review, step 0 when you go on a podcast is know who you're talking to, why you're talking to them. Step 1 is to ask them how you can serve their audience. Step 2, tell your story, 2 to 3 minutes. They'll ask you more if they want to know more. Step 3 is to answer questions with stories. Step 4 is to give them something at the end, your call to action that is applicable for what you just taught. 1 to 2 pages max, no ebooks. And the final thing is save yourself some time to network with hosts. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you are looking for help to get yourself placed on top-rated podcasts so that you can take the mic into your hands and take command of your own brand, you can check us out, www.commandyourbrand.com/book a call. Book a call with our team. We'll show you how we can help you today. And I look forward to helping you take command of your brand. Have a great night, guys, and I will catch everybody next Tuesday. Rock on.